everyone, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, my name is Edward Shin and this is Crocum Outdoors. Now a question I get asked frequently is, which truck do I like better? The Toyota Tundra TRD Offroad or the Ram Rebel? Now I've had the Toyota Tundra for about 2 years and I've had the Ram Rebel for about a year. Now if you've been following my channel for a while, you'll see that the build styles for each of the trucks are very similar. Now although I will be making a lot of comparisons as it relates to overlanding with each vehicle, there are some general truck specific items that I'll be addressing as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give my 5 items that I like about the Ram better than the Tundra, as well as the 5 items that I like on a Tundra better than the Ram. Now the Toyota Tundra I'll be talking about in comparison with the Ram will be the previous generation Toyota Tundra. The newest generation hasn't been out long enough to make any assessments and experience, so I believe that one will probably be reviewed by other people who have that vehicle down the line. But since I wanted to make comparisons based on about a year use of each vehicle, I am going to be using the Toyota Tundra that I had, which is the previous generation. So now here is 5 things about the Ram Rebel that I like better than the Toyota Tundra. Now the first thing that comes to mind, which I believe everyone will agree, is the interior space between the two vehicles. This interior upgrade, which includes the navigation screen or basically the infotainment screen, as well as the compatibility with like Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and some of the apps preloaded and installed in the Ram Rebel as opposed to the Toyota Tundra, enhances the driver experience in my opinion. Another cool feature that I noticed on the Ram Rebel that came with the truck was the fact that it had off-road pages, which gives me some information on the vehicle while I'm off-roading. And that allows me to segue into the second item I like about the Ram Rebel over the Toyota Tundra, and it is the location of the shift knob. Now this has stirred up quite a controversy between some people who do like the old school gear shift that's in the center console, as well as the people who like it in the steering column. Now I know some people would argue that the shift knob is not a good design because it is close to the volume, but over time when you do drive it, you do develop that muscle memory to locate where the volume knob is as well as the shift knob, as well as you really can't shift out of anything while you're driving except maybe into neutral, but even then I've never had that happen while I was driving the vehicle. Another reason why I like it so much is the fact that it frees up the center console a lot. It gives me more space in the center to not just put just a few items in that center compartment, which is usually where right below where you have your elbow resting into your vehicle. Also in front of that we get that whole big space. It allows me to carry additional items and stow it underneath, and I noticed that it's come quite useful. I mean, for different kind of varieties, like for me when I do filming and stuff, I can place my camera gear and stuff like that right in the center, and it seemed to have freed up a lot of space. So although the old school gear shift knob is pretty cool and I like that, I like the fact that it frees up the center console area even more. Now the other thing I like about the Ram Rebel is that you get multiple options for the type of rear suspension to have on the truck. Now one is the coil suspension and the other one are the airbags. So if you notice yourself towing a lot more on your Ram, then you can opt for the air suspension. If you don't find yourself towing or carrying a lot of weight, then the coil suspension is a lot more comfortable than the leaf springs. So people who have test driven the Ram compared to the Toyota Tundra will admit that the driving comfort is a lot better and noticeable on the Ram. Now the fourth item I like about the Ram Rebel more than the Toyota Tundra TRD Offroad is the fact that it comes with rear lockers. Now for some odd reason, Toyota did not opt to include the rear lockers into the Toyota Tundra, even on the off-road package, but admittedly I did not really find myself in too many situations where I needed to have a rear locker activated, but at the same time it is a good feature to have just in case. Now the fifth item that I like about the Ram Rebel as compared to the Toyota Tundra is the exterior design. Now of course this is more based on personal preference and it is very subjective, so this last item is definitely something that is up for debate. The reason I like the Ram Rebel's design more than the Toyota Tundra is because if you look at the lines, a little bit more appealing to me, as well as the thing that really stood out was the hood. I know it's not a functional vent, but just the way that it's designed, to me it looked a little bit cooler than the plain Toyota Tundra hood. But a decorated hood on the Ram Rebel is tacky, you say? Well, take a look at the newest generation Tundra. So is a plain hood good, or is the one on the Rebel good? Well, it's up to you. Tell me what you think on the comments down below. Now, 5 things on the Toyota Tundra that I like better than the Ram Rebel. Number 1, the price. Now, I am fortunate enough to say that I was lucky to get the Ram Rebel before the whole price hike fiasco happened right at the beginning of the car shortage crisis. Now, the Ram Rebel package, which is comparable to the TRD Offroad package, some would argue the TRD Pro, but I think it's more along the lines of the TRD Offroad. Side-by-side comparison-wise, the Tundra was a lot less expensive compared to the Ram Rebel. I am not certain about the newest generation of Tundra, how they are priced out as far as the TRD Offroad package goes, but side-by-side comparison of how much money was out of the pocket or MSRP for the Ram Rebel versus the Toyota Tundra, the Toyota Toyota Tundra would have been the better buy, specifically and only related to price. Now, number 2 for the Toyota Tundra is the fact that it came with leaf springs in the rear. Now, I know I mentioned earlier that I like the Ram Rebel in terms of suspension options between the airbag and the coils, and that was purely for the truck itself, generally speaking. Now, for overlanding with a lot of weight that you add in the rear of the truck, like as you see in my Ram Rebel, the Ram Rebel was lacking. Because it is only coil springs, you did have some noticeable sagging. Whereas on the Toyota Tundra, you can change out the stock leaf pack, which was only 3 or 4 leaves, with a heavier duty leaf pack, which has a lot more leaves, which provided more support to reduce the sagging. Currently on my Ram Rebel, I had to add a few additional mods to help with the sagging, but it didn't fully address it yet. What I did was I added a Hillwig sway bar, I added dual rate coil springs, and I added bigger bump stops from Timbren, all on top of the suspension upgrade I added with the Falcon TerraFlex shocks. That is why between the 2 rigs and the builds that I've done, I've noticed that having the leaf springs helped a lot with the sagging. On the Ram Rebel, it's about an inch lower in the back than it is on the front. Now, the third item I like on the Toyota Tundra better is the fact that its V8 was a full-time V8, which means all 8 cylinders running at the same time, whereas on the Ram, it's part-time. So the Ram currently has the Hemi V8, but unfortunately, when you're driving in eco mode, when you're cruising, when you're not really hitting the gas, only 4 cylinders out of the 8 are activated. It's great for fuel economy, but the unfortunate aspect of that is the fact that the wear is on 4 pistons over 8. So it is not an even wear over time. There are ways to get around it. I do manually activate the gear selection and let it go up to all the way to 8 gears. That's supposed to override the eco mode, and it will activate all 8 at the same time. The only downside to that is I have to do that every time I start the car and put it in drive. So even if I have the car running and then I put it in reverse and then put it back to drive, I have to re-engage the 8 gear selection so that I can have it activate all 8 cylinders all the time. So as far as the Tundra goes, I did not have to worry about that. Just start the engine and it is always running on all 8 cylinders. The fourth item I like better on the Toyota Tundra is the fact that it has a lot more aftermarket support. Now, when I was building up the Tundra, I had plenty of options to decide and to choose from and how I was going to outfit the rig and how I was going to upgrade the rig and modify it. Whereas on the Ram, the options are very few and far in between. I know that people are starting to manufacture stuff for the Ram to help with overlanding and off-roading, but as far as aftermarket support goes, Toyota Tundra wins hands down. Now, number 5 for the Toyota Tundra is also a subjective item, and that is when it comes to changing the oil on your truck. Now, you can take it to a dealer and have them do it for you or a mechanic, but if you are like me and do your own oil changes, the Toyota Tundra was a lot more easier. This process was a lot more simpler, and the reason why I liked it better on the Tundra mainly was the fact that it was less messy. On the Ram, for some reason, the way they designed it and the way the oil filter, where it's situated, you have to kind of reach in and go around some areas to reach that oil filter and to unscrew it and to take it out. Also, when you drain the oil, don't expect it to be a clean drain unless you have something like a Fumoto valve or something installed and with a hose to help you kind of redirect the drain. Now, admittedly, something I expected to be an issue or a contrast between the 2 trucks was reliability. I haven't had any issues really with the Ram Rebel in the past year, and I haven't really seen anything that will put it in a category of unreliable vehicles. Now, long-term use, maybe that could be a thing, right? Maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years, almost at over 50,000 miles, maybe there are more noticeable issues, but I believe if a build quality is really that bad, I might have noticed it right away. So far, so good. There hasn't been any mechanical, electrical problems with the truck. Now, obviously on the Toyota Tundra, there were no issues that I've had through my ownership of it, except that one time I stalled on the forest road because I did not tightly put in the throttle body correctly. But yeah, so far so good. If there are any issues down the line, of course, I will report back and let you know. Now, just one other random thing I'm going to throw in there, just in case people ask. I did wrap both trucks. The Toyota Tundra was the first vehicle I've ever wrapped, and the Ram Rebel was the second vehicle I've ever wrapped and the second time I've ever wrapped a vehicle in full. If people were to ask me which one was easier to wrap, I would say the Toyota Tundra was definitely far easier to wrap, even though I gained experience from it and was able to apply it in wrapping the Ram Rebel. There are a lot of areas on the Ram where it just makes it really tough to wrap. For example, the tailgate, the way it's curved around on the outside, on the rear, and on the hood, the way the hood scoop is jutting out, I had to kind of cut around that to the best of my abilities to expose the vent but hide the paint. Those are my 5 things I like about the Ram Rebel and 5 things I like about the Toyota Tundra. Now, I might have missed something. Maybe some of you have used these vehicles for a longer period of time than me and have encountered your own personal preferences. So if you do notice anything that you like about the Ram better than the Toyota Tundra or vice versa, please feel free to share it in the comment section down below. I'd like to hear your thoughts. So which truck is the clear winner between the two? Well, I think you knew this was coming, but they are both winners in their own right, depending on what you're looking for in an overlanding rig and what matters more to you. So to break it down, I would recommend you get the previous generation Toyota Tundra if you're looking for a truck with a proven track record of reliability, a rear leaf spring suspension which can be modified to accommodate a heavier payload, a full-time naturally aspirated V8 engine, abundant aftermarket support, and it's easy to change the oil on. I would recommend you get the Ram 1500 platform if you're looking for a more refined and upgraded interior which lends to an outstanding driving experience, as well as amenities which facilitates in enjoying long drives, whether on or off road. You might also want the Ram if you're looking for a more comfortable ride thanks to its optional coil or air suspension packages. Also, if you plan on going on adventures where engaging a rear locker is necessary, look to the Ram. The plan is to continue overlanding, continue car camping and adventuring with the Ram Rebel. But aside from that, thank you for joining me on this video. But for the time being, as always, be safe, take care, and I'll see you next time.